Hi everybody, my name is Abhijith Jayanthi. I come from Hyderabad, which is a city in India. Our project name is titled Olive Foundation. One of the projects is called Olive Project, which was the starting project. The full form for Olive stands for Organization for Creating and Generating Livelihood for Youth in Vulnerable Environments. To give you a brief background about what we are actually doing, we wish to actually work in areas which are affected with conflict, and there are issues in terms of bringing in normal harmony and creating such livelihood generation that people don't actually leave the area and seek employment elsewhere. In the sense, we want to create a sustainable environment in the local surroundings itself. It actually started out as a road trip in a district of Andhra Pradesh. That's a state in India, near the place called Vishakhapatnam, which is close to like 250 kilometers away from my city. And when we went on a road trip, we actually happened to visit this place, which is not connected with the mainstream, if I can say so. In the sense, there is a lot of opportunity which is actually missing in the area. In the sense, people who actually live there have no idea what exactly it takes to create decent living for themselves. We started out thinking that we would begin with counseling them, giving them support. We did in fact try that idea for like close to 6 months, but failed miserably. That actually brought us to think that we need to change our approach. We wanted to get into engaging with the community, thriving in the sense we want to build people who actually own up to that responsibility and take it forward, and rather than depend completely on us. We want to engage with the community. That's the first step of the approach. Then we want to create opportunities, and then we want to go on to create a thriving environment so that these opportunities perpetuate into a self-propelling machine. We began with counseling people, the youth, and the community leaders in that area. And slowly we understood that we actually were not trying to talk to the right stakeholders. It was more like a try and understand kind of a mechanism where we identified our stakeholders, which also led to us in terms of understanding how we actually approach them. Stakeholders here are parties of conflict, which in one form is the government, and which in other form is people who are actually having issues with the government. Rather than stating that they are actually outlawed groups, it's actually important that we see them as someone who has actually have a conflict with the government. So that was the basic approach in terms of we beginning to identify stakeholders and talking to them. And the reaction at the start was perplexing, in the sense people were not happy or they were not accommodative enough in terms of us to begin work. But as we went forward, it was definitely a helpful move. The community started understanding the value of what we were trying to do. So in a way, they started owning up to that project. So that drove us in terms of driving the idea to the stakeholders. We began with setting up one boxing academy, which grew to 3, where we have trained close to 300 students who went on to win national level medals. So that was the start in terms of how we wanted to engage with the youth. And once we have had the confidence and they had that belief that we are trying to help them build up their careers, they became our foot soldiers, in the sense they went into the community and they started telling people that they need to send their children to school. People who were trained by us helped us in terms of setting up school, helped us in terms of bringing children to school, and helped us protect the children while at school as well. It's more an engagement process rather than a recruitment process, where people actually identified themselves with the project goal and they were associated with the project. We have had 2 strong upcircles. One is engagement with the community at the start, where we were actually had to take time out in terms of understanding where we were going wrong. Partly because we were actually misconstrued as people who were trying to point fingers at them rather than helping them. That actually drove us down the wrong line of thought with the community, where we had to again work our way back up and tell them that we are not here to create differences, but we are here to actually help them and assist them in terms of taking life forward. The other one is obviously the finances. We have actually started with certain amount of money which forms a pool, the seed fund, with which we have started. Then we went on to actually understand how we want to pump in money through the entire community itself. That led us in terms of looking at agri-produce and creating a linkage between the trade community and the farmers so that we can also benefit in the entire chain and actually fuel the entire activity that we wish to pursue in the region. So I would say we need to look at how best we can engage and see to it that this activity thrives on itself and people actually identify with it in the longer run.